Christian Rohloff with CHS Allegiant Seed. Today I want to talk a little bit about alfalfa stand evaluation coming out of winter and into spring. There's really three tools that I need to make a good quality alfalfa stand evaluation. The first is going to be some sort of alfalfa ring or alfalfa square. Typically 1 square foot is common. This one that I have here today is 2 square feet, so we'll keep that in mind. A shovel, and then some sort of good quality pocket knife to be able to split open stems. The first thing I'm going to do is take our stand or stem count. I prefer to use the stem count method rather than the stand or plant count method. The real guideline for the stem method that I always follow is if I'm above 55 stems per square foot, I'm not worried about the stand health. I have a very healthy stand overall. If I get between 40 and 55 stems, that is a good stand. Obviously, the lower that you get to, or closer you get to 40 than 55, you have a poorer stand. But when you get below 40 stems per square foot is when you really want to start to evaluate or consider with your growers replacing that stand, spraying it out, tilling it up, whatever the common practice is in your area, to replace that stand and rotate in with another crop. So I'm going to pick a random spot in the field here and I'm going to toss this out. So I'm here at my alfalfa ring now. The first thing that I like to do is go ahead and clear out all these old stems, get rid of as much of this debris that I can without tearing out any of the new growth, obviously. It just helps me clean up the mess and get a better sight for what I really am trying to do. So now we're going to go through here and really get down. It's going to take 2 hands and just go through and count each of these individual stems. So as you can see, we'll just do a quick count here on this particular one. And I'm going to kind of separate this into plants and sort through 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to evaluate every single stem that's coming out of this crown, or all of these crowns within this circle. I'm going to take my number, input into my Agilum mobile app using the scouting stand count feature, and get an average of what this field's stem count is. So after I finished my stand count, which in this particular field we averaged 58 plants per square foot. So out here we have a healthy stand. There's no concerns about the longevity or the health or number of stems in this particular field. We would not expect to see any sort of yield reduction due to the stand or stem count in this field. The next thing I'm going to do is at each of those areas that I was just at, or as I move through them, I'm going to bring my shovel along. I'm going to dig up at least 1 plant from each particular area. After digging my plants, I'll visually inspect them either in the field or bring them back to the tailgate to do as a whole group. There's 3 main points that I look at during this visual inspection. The first one is the above ground growth. The key thing that I'm looking for is a symmetrical growth coming out of the crown, both on left and right sides and all the way around 360 degrees of that crown. I want to look for equal growth above ground height-wise. The next thing I'm going to also be looking for is any visual disease, browning, blackening, mold down low on that crown, either at the soil surface or just below. And the last thing is going to be any visual scarring from nematode damage, possible wireworms, and below ground feeding insects. This first plant shows excellent symmetry above ground and no disease or scarring damage due to insect feeding. This second plant shows unequal symmetry above ground with more growth to the left than to the right. After we've completed our visual analysis, we'll go ahead and do a root check and root ratings. The thing to keep in mind when we do these root ratings is that roots are rated on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 is extremely healthy and we're looking for the pure white color like we see with this picture. 1, we tend to see a slight discoloration. 2 is discoloration and a slight bit of rot. 3 is a more severe rot. 4 is greater than 50% rot. And 5 is a completely dead plant. This first plant we see, again, 0 rot, 0 discoloration, so we'd rate it as a 0. The second picture that we're viewing, we see slight discoloration off to the left of the root and we'd rate this one as a 1. And the last plant is our most severely damaged root with a slight discoloration and a little bit of rot starting to creep in. This one we could rate a 2. And again, this one I would even consider to be a borderline 2. This rot may expand, this root may grow through this rot as we move it further into the season. Here's a picture from a field that I've gotten called to in a previous year. You can see over 50% discoloration and rot in the root. This guarantees it to be rated as a 4, but we can also see no regrowth above. This plant is dead, so we will rate it as a 5. The next piece that we're going to want to be sure and evaluate is just an overall stand assessment of the nutrient health of the stand, any vertebrate damage, any heaving, those types of things. And that's really more just a visual inspection than anything else. First thing that I'm starting to see here is maybe a little bit of white. Looking at it here, making the assumption right off the bat that I'm seeing a little bit of frost damage throughout a lot of these leaf tips. It's still early in the spring a lot of times when we're doing these evaluations, so frosts are still pretty common. I'm also going to want to be sure and be looking for possible disease on some of these plants, knowing if I have to make any fungicide applications, anything like that. And a lot of those are going to be particular to your local area and what types of diseases and things are common. If I'm seeing a lot of plants like this, where I'm seeing kind of an overall yellowing, maybe a little bit of crown, maybe what doesn't appear to be quite as healthy of a crown, I'm going to go and make sure and dig this plant up. And again, take it back to the tailgate or do it right here in the field for evaluation, some of those other things. Some of the other things that I mentioned, like heaving, I'm going to want to make sure that my crowns are at or below the soil surface. If you're seeing heaving, that crown would actually push up right above the soil surface and it'd be quite obvious. I hope this video provides you with the information to relay to your grower and be successful with them in the future. Thank you.